Welcome, everybody, to the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show. We're at Week 7 on the Grueling Crew Sports Network. The CFL Weekly Pick'em Show is brought to you by Replenishing Care. Check out the new CBD oil by going to thegruelingtruth.net and clicking on the Replenishing Care banner at the top of the page. I'm your host for the show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host. First up, Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Brian?
Doing good. Very interesting week in the CFL, not just on the field.
Yeah, most definitely. And, of course, we're going to bring in our resident CFL legend, Robert Drummond. How you doing, Robert?
Pretty good, man. It's been a little muggy here, but that's pretty normal for Syracuse weather. It either rains, it snows, or it's muggy, or
or does all
no
three in the
complaints.
same day, right?
Oh yeah, that's Syracuse for you. The weather in Canada was gorgeous compared to how it is here.
All right, guys, let's just go ahead before we talk about the games. We'll talk about Johnny Manziel being traded from the Hamilton Ticats to the Montreal Alouettes. And I would think from looking at this on the outside, Montreal has to do something, Robert. The attendance is down. They're getting their butts kicked almost every week. There's not much excitement in the organization. And I think Manziel fits what they want to do offensively, so I think this is a good move by them.
I think this is a great move. We all know Johnny Manziel, good or bad, has an ego. This is the type of ego, when you come into the CFL, and you automatically don't get the starting spot, it humbles you. So you said Manziel sitting behind Mazzoli, just opened up his eyes and realized, young man, this is football. No one's going to give you anything. Or excuse me, this is professional football. It's not college anymore. You're not BMOC, big man on campus anymore. Everyone's out there fighting for a shot to be a starter, to be a star in this league. You got to work at it, and you got to put your pride behind you. Go out there and just work and learn the game. I think this is one of the best moves that Montreal could have made because, as you said, they do need to start putting seats in for people in the stands, and just making a move. I'm not saying just to sit here and go to the playoffs, but just to make a move to show that they're improving and they're getting better because they're a train wreck right now.
Yeah, and when you look at this, Brian, I think the only risk here is by Hamilton. Jeremiah Masoli started out the season well, still play. I mean, he's not playing bad, but they're 2-3. They've lost their last two games, and the fear here has to be that Manziel goes and blows it up, and Masoli is just what Masoli has been through his career, which is up and down.
Yeah, a great move for Montreal. For Hamilton, I agree. I mean, you're taking a huge risk. Masoli better be the guy. And again, as you said, he's not played terrible, but there are two things from this. One is he has been up and down, and two is what if he gets hurt? Because, again, we've every year we talk about the amount of quarterbacks that go down. So it is a risk. I think that the best CFL teams, and one thing we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years especially, is that it's not so much, obviously these starters are great in the CFL, but when they go down, who's your number two? And can your number two win you games? And now that's going to be a big question in Hamilton.
Yeah, and my other question is this, Robert. We've talked about this all year, and you've said how maybe Manziel being behind him's kind of put a chip on his shoulder. Not just losing the backup there. The big question to me is, I think guys play better with competition behind them. It drives you to pay a little bit more attention in the meetings, maybe practice, play a little bit harder. Is that something that should be a concern here?
The majority of good players, I don't even say the majority, the high majority or just about 99% of good players, enjoy competition because it brings out the best in them. I used to always say as a football player, if somebody's good enough to beat me, or beat me out for a starting position, then that just makes the team better. That just means I have to work that much harder to get better and improve myself. I was always confident in my ability, confident in the type of play I could bring each and every game. And Manziel has to have that attitude now. It's like, it's not Johnny Heisman anymore. It's not Johnny Football anymore. You're just Johnny Manziel. Just like anybody else. Yes, you have the name, but show us what you can do, young man. Now the onus has been put on him. And most superstars rise to the top when the onus gets put back on them.
All right. Now, the other question is this, Schmitty. I mean, the Montreal Alouettes also have acquired receiver Darius Bowman from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for a conditional 8th-round draft choice. So, I mean, right here, if you're an Alouettes fan, at least you can say my team's making an effort to do something right now.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the real key points from this is, and give them some credit. We've seen in different leagues, teams in this situation where they just pretty much just tank it for the season, don't really try to make themselves better, go, win 1 or 2 games, and, the fans are complaining. At least they're trying to make some moves, address the situation where offensively, look, this is not a good offensive team. Well, now you bring a guy like Johnny Manziel who has the potential to be a guy that's going to make plays for you. Now you bring in Bowman that gives you that receiver that can make plays for you. So at least they're trying to address issues. Now, granted, they have a lot of issues to address, but I give them some serious props for starting, at least do something. Rather than just staying status quo.
Yeah, and we were talking about the Hamilton Timer Cast. We'll start talking about them as week one, or a week off served one team better than the other. The Saskatchewan Roughriders ran loose in the second half after a slow start, beat the Hamilton Ticats last Thursday night 31-20 at Tim Hortons Field. The thing that was impressive about this game, Robert, is everybody always talks about there's 3 phases to the game. And in this game, that was proven. Saskatchewan combined for a total of 218 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. You pair that up with the yardage on special teams of 167 yards and a touchdown. This was a complete team effort, and if you don't have your starting quarterback, the ability to win the game on the ground and through special teams is huge.
I've always said that the ground game controls the clock. The ground game controls the ability of a team to go out there and physically prove that they can, line up against you and just pound the ball at you. What can you say about Andrew Harris? Absolutely. And I'm a fan of the run. Granted, I was just an adequate a receiver, but just running just sets a tone, for a team that, that when you go out there, you prove to yourself, it's like, we can line up the ball, line up against you any single time and run the ball down your throat. That's demoralizing for a defense because there's nothing you can do. At least with the pass, you have an opportunity to have an interception, have the quarterback fumble the ball. It's something just to change the game. When you're running the ball and you're running effectively, there's nothing you really can do to change the game or change the momentum. It's just we're lining up against you and just saying you can't stop us. We can control this clock. Unless you score every time, we're going to control this game. And that's what Saskatchewan did. It's fun to watch football like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, Brian, it wasn't just Jerome Messam running for 70 yards, Trey Mason for 51, Marcus Thigpen for 80. It was also Brandon Bridge taking care of the ball. He goes 17 for 22, 165 yards and a touchdown, and he managed the game well.
Yeah, he really did. Always think that's a huge key in a situation, again, with a backup quarterback. And again, Brandon Bridge, it's not like he was a guy that hasn't played. He was very effective last year, but they managed the game with the run. He was able to really be able to pick his spots, make some very key passes. That third quarter, he had a 21-point third quarter. Really just as that game went on, you just really kind of felt in the third quarter especially. They took over that game. And just a great job overall with using the run game, allowing him to not have to do anything crazy with in the passing game, not having to put it on his shoulders. And it was a total team effort.
Yeah, and then the next game, we had maybe the game of the week. We had the Red Blacks beat the Lions 29-25. Came down to the final minute, but the Red Blacks overcame adversity and inconsistency to earn that 29-25 victory. Trailing by 3 late, the Red Blacks embarked on a game-winning drive, which kept alive by a critical one-handed catch by Greg Ellingson. This Trevor Harris, 30 of 44, 363 yards and a touchdown. I think we've established this, Brian. I think Ottawa, if they're not playing Calgary, is one of the 2 best teams in the CFL.
Yeah, they really are. We had kind of touched on this last week. Ottawa is very good football team. They can stay away from Calgary. But Trevor Harris, I mean, this guy he really is a guy that if he could stay healthy all year long, I think that, you're talking about a guy that definitely has a chance to be an MVP guy at the end of the year and be a huge. This guy is just amazing when you watch him as a quarterback. Just so efficient and so good at look, if it's not there, he'll check it down. He'll take the completions and just so efficient in what he does.
Yeah, and the BC Lions, Robert, I think they're a team the last couple of weeks have played much better. Travis Lulay came in 19 for 32, 2 touchdowns. They ran the ball well. They ran for over 100 yards. Emmanuel Archino, 152 yards receiving. So I would say when we look at the CFL, which is a top-heavy league with Calgary and then kind of everybody else, I don't think we could completely count the Lions out yet. I don't expect them to be in the playoffs at the end, but I think they've at least put themselves in the realm of being at least an average team in the CFL.
I mean, technically, you can't really write any team off. It's a game where it's a game of streaks. At any given point, I don't know how good you are. If somebody gets hot, they're actually going to end up, winning it all. Look at Toronto last year. Ended up winning a Grey Cup. It's about having fortitude and be able to go out there and week in and week out. Because it makes for a long season. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
I tell you, it doesn't matter how good you are. Even the teams I play on, we were dominant teams. We always knew we had to show up each week because we were the top tier team. But every week was every week was our Grey Cup because every single team gun for the best. And that's any sport really. It's not just football. So the top teams are always going to be challenged for from what they may think of the weaker teams. And as you said, this is a top heavy team. With the Calgarys, and one day Ottawa's going to actually realize how good they are and play up to that level, consistently. If they start getting consistent, watch out, because it could be a war back and forth, between them and Calgary. But consistency is a game in football.
Well, another team that I think could get into this if they get more consistent is Winnipeg, Robert. And they looked really good. Matt Nichols passed for 2 touchdowns, ran for another in Winnipeg's 38-20 win over Toronto last Saturday afternoon. Nichols and his supporting cast of rushers, receivers thrived all afternoon. Running back Andrew Harris, once again, played out of his mind, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, if their offense is so diversified that this is a team I think is going to be there at the end too. Right now, if I had to tell you who I thought were the top 3 teams, it would be Calgary and then Winnipeg and Ottawa in whatever order you'd want.
Winnipeg is a very dangerous team because they're a team right now that has confidence. And that's huge. People don't realize what are a lot of the armchair quarterback and the fans, when they watch the game, don't understand it. It's just when they watch these teams that there's a lot of confidence that goes into players, that you can tell by the way they play and how they approach the game. Winnipeg believes they can beat anybody. And they have the approach. They have the talent. They have the offense. They have the defense, special teams. As you said, with Harris, Nichols, they have that swag. As these young generational, these millennial kids say, that to go out there and just compete with anybody. They won't back down on anybody, and they're going to be a dangerous team, and not just this year, but for years to come, because that organization has gotten back to the Winnipeg football from the days I played, and believing that they can beat anybody when they step up on the field. And Calgary better take heed.
Yeah, and if we look at Toronto on the other hand, Brian, and you brought it up before, Toronto last year at this time looked dead in the water, but not just Toronto. If you remember this time last year, we were trying to figure out outside of each other who Hamilton and Saskatchewan could beat. And by the time you get to the end of the year, they were playing as good as anybody. And I think Toronto, they get Ricky Ray back. It's still a talented team, Brian, so I don't think we can write them off yet either.
No, you really can't. They're a talented team. And again, and I know Robert says this a lot. I mean, it's as he said earlier, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And this is Toronto's going to be there. Where they'll, how far they'll go, I mean, we'll see as we go. But Man, I mean, this was a team last year at this time. I mean, like we weren't really talking a whole lot about. Next thing you know, they get hot at the right time, and here you go. So, Winnipeg, I agree. I think Winnipeg is one of the top 3 teams, and I like, when I watch Winnipeg, I like a lot of what I see, especially offensively. They're a fun team to watch offensively.
All right.
But there's.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I said, but this is there's a lot of football yet to be played, so you can't really count Toronto out because they've proven that.
Yeah, and I think even Montreal, I want to see what happens with Manziel, because in the division they're in, I mean, 8 or 9 wins might be enough to take it. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the team that I think everybody agrees is the best team. Bo Levi Mitchell led the way as the Calgary Stampeders grabbed their 5th win of the season in a 25-8 home victory against the Montreal Alouettes. But I'll tell you this, Robert. Beating the Alouettes 25-8 for Calgary almost feels like Calgary lost the game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there'd be a lot more points scored than that.
Yeah,
but
I
at the end of the day,
thought this would be like 60-7.
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone thought that, but at the end of the day, as a football player, all you want to do is get the victory. You want to get the victory, and you want to get out of there, injury free, because you know how long the season is. I mean, we keep harping on it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And keep your players healthy. You go out there, you do the things you practice, and we always say it. There's a saying we always say as a football player. Work on your trade, which basically means anybody in any kind of business and any kind of effort that they're doing, just work on getting better each week. And that's what I think that Calgary did. It's got to be interesting to see what Montreal does now with Manziel, because now Montreal will have a new attitude going out there that, let's see what this young man can do. And this young man is an ace and a wild card, but but for Calgary is just, as you keep hearing me talk about consistency. Calgary is just consistent, week to week, month to month, year to year, season to season. So that's Calgary Stampeder football, and it's been happening since I played, up until now. Calgary is just a great organization. It's ran well from top to bottom, and it shows.
All right, Brian, I don't think there's really anything else to be said about that game. So I'm going to let you talk about Edmonton and Montreal first. I really don't. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to ask on that. I mean, Montreal, we all know, pretty much just got a complete facelift on their team. And Calgary, I mean, what can you say? They ran, they block, they tackle better than anybody else, and they win even when they don't play at the top of their game. So let's look at Montreal and Edmonton, which now is all of a sudden maybe the game of the week, just to see what Manziel can do. He'll make his regular season debut. Coach Mike Sherman said that they will have packages in for him. He's not just going to throw him in and be the starter. How much do you think Manziel plays in this game, and can Montreal beat Edmonton, Schmidt?
Edmonton will win this game. I feel very confident in that. However, I think with Manziel, it's really going to depend on when they put him in, how it's going. They're not going to throw him into the wolves. They're not going to put him in a position. Look, the best way to handle this is to put him in positions to be successful without putting too much on him. And look, now you have a situation where you get another week of practice under his belt after this game, and maybe he is the starter coming into week 8. But I think a lot of how much he plays just depends on when they put him in early, how he responds. But I definitely want to see him play, and I definitely want to see how he does. I think for me that's more exciting than the game, because I do think Edmonton will win this game.
Yeah, but there is the intrigue, and when he comes on, if he goes down the field that first time, Robert scores a touchdown, you're going to have a home crowd that's going nuts, but I still think Edmonton's going to win too. What do you think, Robert?
You know what? I think myself, on paper, Edmonton's a better team, and Edmonton definitely should win this game. But there's so many more intangibles to go with this game now the Johnny Manziel trade, because there's just so much psychological thinking, it's just not just going on, the Montreal side of the ball, but it's just, the Edmonton side of the ball also. It's just that They know how talented Johnny Manziel can be. But which Johnny Manziel going to show up? Is it going to be the Johnny Manziel who's just trying to learn the CFL game, or is it somebody who's got an attitude of being able to go out there now, being given the opportunity to be a superstar, and he's going to be a superstar because we all know, we've seen what he can do, but now is this a turning point in his career where he realizes, this is my last chance, I need to go out there and do things now, or is it status quo? So it's a game. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, this is a game I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. I'd leave this one alone.
But you still have to pick it. You don't have to bet anybody.
I pick Edmonton. That's the team I'm going with, but it's just a game where if it was something where that's going to lose money. And I was never a gambler, and I was always I go with sure things. That's why I prided myself as a football player. I always go with sure things. Always be consistent, Robert. Don't make mistakes. Just go out there and trying to win the game. But I know how good I was. Is that the Johnny Manziel is going to come up and be like, Johnny Manziel, you're a Heisman Trophy winner, you're a good college player, you're good, just go out there and just do the things you possibly can do. If he does that, it's going to make for not just one heck of a game, this game, but the rest of the season for that young man.
Well, how about this? If Johnny Manziel comes in and tears it up, I think this is huge for the entire CFL, guys. I mean, because
absolutely.
ESPN
it'll be a national story.
Yeah. It's going to be a national story in two countries then.
See, but here's the thing, and he knows that.
Yeah.
He knows how talented he is. Talent-wise, just talent alone, being able to run, being able to play, Johnny Manziel is probably the most talented quarterback in the CFL, athletic-wise, hands down. I used to see him in college and say to myself as a player, be like, wow. You don't see talent, but it's like he let the off the field and just the other small intangibles of the game go to his head, and that was his problem. A lot of young athletes do that. All the talent in the world, but they let the game slip away from them, and they let the stardom, they let the fame, they let the money go to their head, and they lose sight of what's really important. If that man finally if he's figured out what's important to him in this game, and he goes out there and tears it up, watch out, because the CFL will be put right back on the map, especially in the United States. Bad boy turns good. Does well. It'll be on all day, every day, 24 hours a day for the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks up until the Grey Cup, which will spark the CFL, and make and now you have your new superstar. So it'll be interesting to see.
All right, next up we got the Toronto Argonauts at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I'll pick this one first. I think there's no doubt Winnipeg wins this game. I don't think Franklin and the Argos offense can keep up with them, and I think Winnipeg is getting ready to maybe explode and go on a streak here. What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, Winnipeg now is positioning himself to be talked in the same sentence, as a Calgary. I just don't think that Toronto just right now at the moment just has enough firepower and just has enough belief in himself, and even with Franklin as a leader, as quarterback, just to get themselves through and get to the point where they can make a position to strike. Maybe later on in the season, because as we keep saying, it's a marathon. But for right now, just Winnipeg is just too strong. Winnipeg has that swag. They have that feel. They have that confidence to be able to go out there and just win this game. Sheer will alone, Winnipeg will win this game.
All right, Schmitty, Blue Bombers or Argos?
Oh, I'm going with the Blue Bombers. I just think they're a complete team.
All right, next up, we've got the Ottawa Red Blacks at the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Interesting game. Robert, we'll start off with you.
Oof. I just think as I said, if Ottawa can be consistent week in and week out, they're an enigma to me. Some weeks they play like a top tier caliber team. Some weeks they play, they play down to the competition. I mean, is what I've been finding out through the course of the year. And it's not just this year. It's been in years prior also. They're that team that's right in the bubble of greatness, but just can't seem to get over that hump of winning games they're supposed to win. They lose games like that, and that's a mark of a great team. As we keep going back before, the blueprint for the CFL right now, we would all agree is Calgary, correct?
Yeah.
You know, and Calgary does what?
Yep.
They consistently go out there and they beat teams soundly that they're supposed to beat. Ottawa has that same type of talent, but they don't do it. You always have to ask yourself why. You know, and over the years, a lot of times I look at it, you know, it just doesn't start with the players. It starts with management. It starts with attitude. It starts with so many intangibles that going into being a dynasty or a great team. Ottawa has that potential, but for some reason, to me, it's just not there for them. Yes, they have their moments, but not enough moments to be considered a great team. I mean, like they're on the brink of being a team, a great organization, a great team, but they just for some reason, and I can't put my finger on it. And when I figure it out, trust me, I'll let you guys all know.
Yeah,
but Ottawa, I think, is going to win this game.
I mean, Brian, I think this is why this is a big game for Ottawa. Hamilton's lost a couple games in a row. Ottawa wins except for when they play Calgary. Ottawa needs to come out and get this game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is also a big game in some ways for Hamilton.
Yeah.
You know, they've lost 2 in a row. They've looked good at times. They've not looked good at other times. You know, this is an important game for them as well. I think, you know, I feel Ottawa will win this. But I'm not going to be surprised if Hamilton wins simply because, as Robert said, Ottawa is very inconsistent at times. They look like they should be, you know, in the same conversation with Calgary, but yet these are the games that Ottawa has lost in the past. And it's, like I said, it's an important game for Hamilton. Those 2 wins they had. If you lose this game, those 2 wins they had, now you start, you know, talking, well, yeah, they got a couple wins, but is this the Hamilton team that we saw, you know, early last year? You know, how consistent are they going to be throughout the season? And you just traded away Johnny Manziel. So if Masoli does not play well, now you're going to have the added bonus of people saying, well, you just traded away Johnny Manziel, and now your quarterback's not playing well. So there's a lot on this game as far as Hamilton's concerned as well.
Yeah, I think it's big for Masoli. I think he needs to come out and play well. I think he will. I just think Trevor Harris and the guys around him are a little bit better. They should win the game. Next up, Brian, we got the Calgary Stampeders at the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And my question to you is this. I mean, so far Saskatchewan, to win without Zach Collaros, their starting quarterback, has won with defense, running game, and special teams. I don't think you can beat, you know, Calgary without being able to throw the ball.
Yeah, but here's the thing with that being very true. But the other part to this is, you know, teams seem to go in and they play Calgary, and they just sometimes they're so hyped up to beat Calgary that they don't realize they've lost the game before they even started, because they just get themselves out of whack, and they play to the mystique, and, you know, so they walk in going, oh man, we got to beat Calgary, you know, and then first thing it goes wrong, all of a sudden it just goes downhill, and you just see all the different scenarios, and I think Saskatchewan's got to be able to throw the football. But I will say this: if they can do the balanced attack as they did this past week, that gives them an opportunity. But in the end, I think Calgary's just too good a football team. They are, as we say weekly, they are the New England Patriots of the CFL. They just do it right every single game. And even with last week, 25-8, but really, the game wasn't that close. They just efficiently won that football game. I'm going with Calgary. Very rarely can I go against Calgary.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to see here, like I said, this is huge. It's huge for Johnny Manziel. It's huge for the CFL. And, I mean, the Montreal Alouettes used to be the team in this league. And can he bring him back to it? The other question is this: if he does, how long does he stay before an NFL team courts him? So I think this is a huge week. I think it's going to be one of the more interesting weeks of CFL football that we've seen in years. Robert, any final thoughts?
That Montreal game will be one of the. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't one of the highest rated, games watched so far this season. because everyone, I mean, anyone who's a football connoisseur or knows anything about football understands, especially former players, understands that, you know, for Johnny Manziel, you know, you've been given a second chance. You've been given a starting role. No one's telling you to go out there and show greatness, you know, this game, you know, but we know what your potential is. What are you going to do, young man? And right now, for him, it's just his attitude is just like, you know, it's just like, it's, you know, I'm either going to win or I'm either going to win or I'm going to lose. All I got to do is go out there and play relax and just do what I'm capable of doing. That's all that young man has to do is forget all that and just go out there and just do what he's capable of. If he does what he's capable of doing, he'll be one of the most talented, athletically gifted quarterbacks to ever play in this game. And I played with the likes of a Damon Allen, the likes of a Tracy Ham, the likes of a Doug Flutie. You know, I played with some Hall of Famers who are great quarterbacks, and athletically, he has them all beat. But he doesn't have the mental prowess or capacity to be able to go out there and understand that it's not about what you do off the field. It's about being relaxed and going out there and using your talent on the field to make your players better.
All right.
And if he understands that, wow.
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about Tracy Ham, Damon Allen, those are guys that were great athletes at the quarterback position, too.
Oh, they were my quarterbacks.
It's not like you're athletically comparing them to Peyton Manning and Dan Marino.
No. Oh gosh, no. And the CFL, if you have an athletic quarterback that they can dunk the ball and throw it downfield, wow, lights out. Hey, those guys won me a lot of Grey Cups, you know. Yep. I won't say I was just a part of that cog, but those guys, I used to sit back and watch them and be absolutely amazed. They had me understand and enjoy watching the quarterback position so much in the CFL because it's so important to watch a Damon Allen, go to work and just be a part of that cog. To watch a Tracy Ham go be a part of that cog. To watch a Doug Flutie, and I was just like, they amazed me. So I know when I see a young talent like those guys, but who just doesn't understand the game like those guys, I'm like, you know what? As soon as this young man understands the game, But and Johnny Manziel is more talented than all of them.
All right.
And it's scary to say that, but it'll be interesting to see. I hope this young man plays.
All right, Brian. Final thoughts?
I agree to everything Robert said. This is such an exciting week, just from a CFL standpoint, just because Johnny Manziel and the possibilities of what this means. And you have to wonder that when Hamilton made this trade to Montreal, if the CFL powers to be didn't just get goosebumps just for what this could mean for the league, just to bring an excitement back to the league, and again, everybody's talking about it since that trade happened. I mean, every talk show on ESPN, everything, they've talked about this trade. When's the last time that CFL has been talked about in Week 7 in the mainstream media here in the United States? That's not happened in many years. So
when Chad Johnson played a few games for the Alouettes.
Yeah. So this is huge. So it's going to be very interesting to see him play.
Like that, Brian, the thing about like the Chad Johnsons and guys like that is a lot of these guys are at the end of their careers. Nobody knows what to expect from Manziel, and we're not talking about a guy past his prime. We're talking about a guy that if he can figure this out, will be in his prime in the CFL.
That's exactly it, and I think that's what makes it such a big deal. Here's a guy that could, we could be talking about for years, and again, and you brought this up, and I think it was a great point. If he plays well, how much longer before he ends up in the NFL? But at the same time, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to end up in the NFL. I mean, here's the guy that, maybe he's gonna come out here. He's gonna play really well in the CFL. Maybe it's something that they're going to be able to keep him in the CFL. So I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but. This is exciting. I mean, I definitely will be tuning in on Thursday just to watch that.
All right, guys, and we'll be back next Tuesday night to talk about it. Robert, thanks for being on again. Schmitty, same to you. Remember, you can now hear all the Grueling Truth shows on Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find the Grueling Truth. So for Robert Drummond, Brian Schmidt, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.